Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart and welcome to a quick review of Black Powder Epic Battles Hedges. Now these have been very recently released. I saw them in one of Warlord Games' emails and clicked on the link, and I thought, oh, they look quite interesting, and I wasn't quite sure what to make of them. So I thought I'd order some and do a bit of a review. Now I had some hedges I've already made. I wasn't very happy with them. I did them quite quickly. Hedges are pretty cheap and easy to make, as we'll discuss a little bit later on. But I thought I'll give them a go. £18 didn't seem too bad, and the picture sort of seemed to show you that you've got quite a lot there. But let's have a little closer look at the images, and then we'll look at what actually has arrived. So that's all the different shapes you get. Looks very, very impressive. I must admit, I was definitely encouraged by the look of the finished things. Zoom in there. It looks like they're on lollipop sticks there, which is funny enough the way I would make them at home myself anyway. And you can see that they're flocked and things like that as well. Bits of tufts and extra and whatnot on there. Let's have a look. Is that the only picture? Oh, there are more pictures. It's just not loading very well. So that just shows you all of the head side. Shows you next to some Epic Battles miniatures. Shows you some of the ones with the trees as part of the hedge lines, some extra ones with the trees. So just basically gives you closer up views of all the other things that are in there. It's got a very brief description. It says this senior pack contains a selection of hedge sections perfectly scaled for Black Powder Epic Battles. Whether you choose your own battlefield hosts, the American Civil War, the 100 Days campaign, or any other wars that Epic Battles ranges touches. So that's a bit more of a hint that we will get more in the future. This contains 36 sections of various designs, and we saw that from that first picture. But overall I was intrigued. I thought the description was a little bit lacking of what you're actually getting, and we'll come on to that in a moment, because I really wasn't sure what to expect from the pictures. The pictures obviously show them fully assembled. Here you can see that it says models supplied unassembled and unpainted, so I don't know what I was getting. Were they going to be resin strips with some flock included? What were they going to be? So I really wasn't sure, and let's have a closer look at what actually turned up. And here we are, and this is what actually turned up. So it's the Sarissa Precision Kit, which in hindsight makes a lot of sense. They seem to be the partner involved in most of the kits that you see that are sold alongside the Epic Battles releases, but it doesn't really say that on the, I don't think it says that on the website. I didn't spot it myself. It definitely doesn't say this is an MDF kit that you need to assemble. It just says it needs to be assembled. It's not an issue for me, but I think it probably would be good to have it in the description that it says this is an MDF kit, etc, etc. I think that'd be a nice thing to do. But there's a little bit of glare on this, so I'm just going to take the cellophane off, and then we can have a little better look. It would help if I use the sharper knife, wouldn't it? So you can already see from the back that is what to be expected. You've got some bases and some pre-cut MDF bits that which then slot into them, and then the other side of the tree to pop over. There we go. And these will be the hedge side of things. And there's your instructions. And then what else you get is this bag of flock. It's the kind of slightly thicker stuff. So it's not that really fine flock, it's the kind of thicker, almost mini clump foliage style. And then there's a wadge of actual clump foliage to put on the trees. And I wouldn't say it's one big lump. Obviously going to be broken up, but I've not seen it that dried out before. It'll be fine once it's all broken up though, I suppose. So, initial reactions, was just surprised, I think, when I opened the box, that it was Sarissa Precision. I don't know what I expected. I think it's because I recently bought the sand pit and the barricade, and they were resin pieces, and I thought these could have been resin, but it would have been very cheap for resin, actually, thinking about it. So, I'm not unhappy with them at all. I think that amount of MDF pre-cut hedges and tree line is actually quite good and will save me a lot of time. Whether we needed to sell it as a kit like this with this, I don't know. We'll see what happens once I've built them, and we'll find out whether the amount they give you goes far enough. That'll be one of my first concerns. Is there enough flock and clump foliage to cater for all the trees? I have extra. If not, it's not a problem. But it's not loads there. And would it have been better if it was just an MDF armature, so to speak? I don't know. What I'll do is then I will build some and come back to you and we'll chat a little bit more at the end of the video. So here we are, all assembled. You've got some minor changes in the designs there. They're going to be very little to it, but you've got 8 with that wavy pattern. You've got 8 in that wavy pattern. Now these longer ones are 10 centimeters, 4 inches long. You've got 8 in this slightly shorter pattern here, and again, so that's 5 centimeters or 2 inches long. And then you've got 4 with the tree, and that's a 10 centimeter one, and you've got 8 smaller ones with the tree, 5 or 2 centimeters. Now I'm going to go and give them a spray, and I will probably paint up, and I'm not going to do them all now, but I'll get a couple done just so I can show you what they look like when they're all finished off. I'm just quickly airbrushing some Rhinox hide base, actually. Bit of brown onto the edges before I add a little bit of texture paint. Obviously the MDF's quite plain, so I've decided to add a little bit of Vallejo earth texture just to the edges. And I'm not going to worry too much if it sort of overlaps a little bit up the side, because it's all going to be covered in the flock anyway. After that I added a splash of Agrax Earthshade, basically following the same method I've been using for the bases on the miniatures for this project. I then brushed on a little bit of Vallejo pigments and light senna. After that I've stuck the first green flock on with a bit of PVA. The actual tree foliage breaks up into nice little chunks, so it makes a lot more sense now. Just look a little bit dodgy, crumbling bits of bush onto some paper, but we'll scoot past that. And then healthy amounts of PVA. Hopefully they'll stick in nicely. For this one I'm going to try it with some super glue. I'm feeling it might be a little bit easier for these bits, especially if you're not very patient like I am. Once it's dry, I found it was really good to just gently rub your finger along and remove the excess pieces. It's quite static, so it clumps on and looks like it's all stuck down, but a lot of it's just compacted and pressed in, and you don't get loads of it. I think you get enough, but you don't get loads, and saving as much as possible like this, you can pop it back in the bag, is probably prudent. Now I've just added a couple of little tufts on the edges, just to match some of the basing and things, and finishes it off quite nicely. I did find that super gluing the tree foliage on was the way to go. The PVA just took far too long to dry. I wouldn't necessarily do that on the hedges, because I think it would soak in too much and you'd end up with like a crispy hard dry finish and you'd lose the colour. But for this, much better. I mean, that's tried to touch now. This one still hasn't quite dried yet, and the bits kept falling off, and I like to work quite quickly, but I think they come out quite nice, to be honest with you. Relatively simple. You absolutely could get lollipop sticks, thick card, and do the same thing and buy your own stuff, and it would be cheaper. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And I know that there will probably be lots of comments saying making myself. Absolutely, that's absolutely valid. I think as I've zoomed out now, I think for the amount you get, £18 is one of those prices that's I wouldn't say it's cheap. It's also not too expensive, and the convenience for me is key there. That's why I don't regret buying them at all. Like I said at the beginning, I really didn't know what to expect. Just a slightly better description would probably be prudent on the website. Just says it's made out of MTF. It does say self-assembly and paint. I realised I'd have to do that, but I didn't know what it was going to be made out of. And yeah, hindsight, this makes an awful lot of sense, and it's a quite a quick and easy, elegant way to do it. The tree armatures work really, really well, and because of the way that the flock hides bits, it does a really good job of hiding that it's MDF, and I quite like that. If it was just these on their own, I'd say lollipop sticks maybe would be the way to go, but I quite like the little tree armatures on there as well. And as I say, £18. I was worried that there wasn't enough for this and there wasn't enough for this. I think there is enough. I think you need to be careful with it. I think once it's dry, like I already showed you, need to brush the excess back off and keep it, and maybe do a few at a time. And be aware of that, but I think there is just about enough, but there's not loads and loads of excess. When you maybe would have been nice to have a little bit of excess to do touch-ups, because over time they will get worn. I've also got some different colour of this stuff, so I may actually do some of the hedges in a slightly different shade anyway, just for some variety, and I'm sure many of you watching this would have that. So overall, I think they're pretty cool, pretty good, relatively cheap. They do the job. Yes, you can absolutely do this yourself. Many people already have this in their stock. You can buy strips of sort of Jarvis style, I think they're from Jarvis, hedgerows. There's lots of options for this, but for this small scale, these are quite nice, elegant solutions. You'll see some more glamour shots now. As I've added the bits onto the table and just taken a couple of pictures with the miniatures so you can see how it fits in with the table. But yeah, overall, pretty happy with them. I would definitely recommend them for anyone that's looking for an easy solution, and doesn't want to have to spend time cutting bits of MDF, etc. Sourcing lollipop sticks and gluing those all together. It was incredibly easy to punch out, like any Sarissa kit is incredibly easy to punch out of the frames and glue together. Took no time whatsoever. And the longest part will be the flocking and the foliage side of things, but once a set of this goes quite a long way. It's probably more than enough for a 6x4 setup. So if you've got a larger table, a couple of sets, and you're done really. I'm going to go back and fix these a bit. Maybe some hairspray or some watered down PVA and watered down PVA sprayed for a bottle, just to make sure all the flock doesn't rub off. But you get that with any terrain, even homemade terrain. So that's not a criticism at all. But anyway, hopefully that was useful for some of you wondering what they were, if they appeared on the Warlord website, wondering what you actually got and what the kit was made up of. And and maybe some of you buy it, maybe some of you will decide, no, I'll buy some lollipop sticks, either or, but I think they're pretty good. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Think about giving us a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you soon.